My name is Michelle Gray, private investigator at Gray Investigations. The following recording is sponsored by Hunt a Killer, a monthly mystery kit that helps you solve fictional murder cases. And if you are hearing this recording, it means we are in desperate need of unfolding our most recent unsolved murder, the tragedy of Viola Vane. Her body was discovered in a trunk hidden away in the attic of the Cadence Theater. We believe her body has been there ever since her disappearance in 1934, and we suspect foul play. We have 6 packages that we will ship out monthly to your door featuring forensic reports and evidence regarding individuals relating to this case. Remember, you don't need to wait a month. We'll work at your pace. We can ship the next set whenever you're ready. If you're feeling up to it, you can order the first box now and get 20% off by using promo code INSIDEAMIND. That's INSIDEAMIND for 20% off.
In June of 2021, 2 individuals, Nathan Gabriel and Chico Games, discovered a cancelled Courage the Cowardly Dog video game for PlayStation 1 in the hard drive sold at a yard sale.
This game was originally found on an old hard drive I bought in a yard sale. I didn't ask too much about it because I needed old and damaged electronics to run some tests. Upon checking its contents, I found files of a PS1 game project, and when I opened them, I found this game. Then, me and Sis Cookies, Chico Games, started working on a way to turn this into a playable game, trying our best to use the majority of the files we could so that it could wind up being a cohesive experience for this vaporware game.
This, of course, sounds like the beginning of some creepypasta you'd be hearing online, and of course, you'd be right. It's a fan game based on the cartoon from the 90s known as Courage the Cowardly Dog. However, the whole thing is designed as if it was supposed to be a PlayStation 1 game from the 90s that was never released. You can download it yourself on their website, or watch multiple Let's Plays online if you don't feel like completing it yourself. Or you can watch this video where we talk about what you can find in the game. We open the game in Courage's home while the theme of the show plays on repeat. There's nothing really to interact with here until you go upstairs. The final door on the right leads us into a room with nothing but a computer. You can interact with it, which triggers a color change downstairs. Now the room is glowing red. That is until you interact with the door downstairs, which turns everything back to normal. Traveling back up to the computer room, and now we're greeted with a floating head. I feel like it's important to point out though that this isn't just a random creature the game developers have thrown in, this is actually a character that appeared within the show, specifically episode 12 of season 2 titled House of Discontent. It's known as the Spirit of the Harvest Moon, appearing before the characters of the show after not looking after the land properly. If you leave the room once more and travel back downstairs, you can interact with the main door, which teleports you to some kind of maze. There's actually a starting point for the symbol, and if you interact with the chairs in the correct order that the symbol is drawn, like a dot-to-dot game, you unlock another section of the map. Staying close to the walls, you'll start to hear birds chirping. Following that sound will lead you to an invisible wall. Interacting with the hidden platform appears to have spawned in a memorial picture for Muriel, one of the owners of Courage. Shortly after, the game crashes. Loading it back up, the game appears to have saved your progress, and now you're in some kind of black void, but you can see another platform on the other side. It's unfortunately too far to jump, though. If you walk off the platform, you'll fall into the void and the game will crash again. Users online figured out that if you run the background music through a spectrogram, it reveals a map of this location, revealing two invisible pathways from where you stand. One directly to your right and the other to your left. Unfortunately, it's almost impossible to memorize it yourself with how many twists and turns there are. So, internet investigators used a software known as Reshade, which made the map pathways visible, and someone even put together a tutorial that can be found on the 5MG channel on YouTube. Each path you take leads to a different ending of the game. Choosing the right path sends you to a bright light that, when interacted, will teleport you to a pitch-black room as Courage begins running forward. You'll eventually end up at some kind of 2D house. Behind it is a portrait of Robert Wheeler. Messing with it will crash your game, and you'll spawn back in the house. The lights are off. Until you go upstairs. We are then greeted with a missing file screen, which we'll talk about the importance of later on. Going back to the two pathways, if you instead chose the left path, you'll end up on the platform we saw on the other side of the room. Nothing is really here other than a chair under a spotlight. Interacting with it will not surprisingly crash your game once more, but booting it up spawns you back at the house, but this time, coins are just surrounding you. Collecting some of them will slow the music down before a second player enters the server. Muriel, who supposedly passed away, has joined the game and is playing with you. But the question is, where is she? If you continue to collect all the coins, Muriel's face will darken before cutting to another missing file screen. There's one more ending that can be found back at the creepy maze. After hearing the birds and going through the invisible wall, if you mistakenly fall off the platform, it loads you back at the house. And just like most creepypasta stuff, the music has been replaced with Morse code. When decoding, it translates to "learn the way of the old wind." We don't quite know what this means yet, but it's clearly important since this isn't the first time we've seen that phrase, old wind. Not only is the game called Courage OW, the initials of Old Wind, but if you go into the game files, under Port Files, Data, then Logs, you'll see the text document that reads, "She followed the rules. He broke the rules." The OW was all the way to the right. Considering there are 2 letters missing for the O and 3 missing for the W, it's heavily implied that these 2 words are Old Wind. Continuing in this section of the game, if you go upstairs and interact with the furthest door, and then go back downstairs, the clock is now in the center of the room and chimes to 12 before crashing. But if you jump through the banister instead of going down the stairs, the clock doesn't chime, and you can interact with the door at the very end before getting another data missing file. So, I guess it's time to talk about the importance of these particular missing screens. Why is this significant? Well, if you brighten the 3 data missing screens, you'll find a hidden message on each one. Father wasn't home. Mr. Wheeler was there to greet me. It was her, Eleanor. We are yet to figure out the meaning behind these stuff, and not much else can be found in these games. But it seems as though we will be getting some updates soon.
Look at what the dog dragged in. I talked to the guy who sold me the hard drive with the Courage game files, and it turns out he had another hard drive from that lot. And you'll be happy to know that there's more Courage content in it, and we'll be releasing another updated port.
The creators are working on more content for this game, but when that will be released is anyone's guess. This will probably take some time before anything new is dropped, so if you're interested, I'll update you guys in my community tab when they release something. In the meantime, the current game is available to play yourself. Just remember, you might want to look up the tutorial on how to add the reshade extension to your computer when you go to the Black Void part. Unless you enjoy spending several hours falling to your death and having to boot up the game every time because it automatically crashes, good luck. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time.